everyone to Textiles and Tea with the Handweavers Guild of America. I'm Kathy Group. I'm the Advertising and Marketing Manager, and I get to be your host today. Today we have a sponsorship. It's Sue Ann Pascarella. Thank you, Sue Ann. Sue Ann has done so much for HGA over the years, and here's just another example of sponsoring our guest today on Textiles and Tea. We will take questions as usual. It'll be the last 15 minutes of the program. Please put your questions in the Q&A and not in the chat. I can see them, but I can't really read them. So it's better if I can see your question in the Q&A. Today, we have Abraham Buddish. Abraham is a fiber artist, a craftsman, a professional textile designer. He began his fiber journey at the age of 8 after receiving an Angora goat. His fascination with fiber animals and textile techniques flourished through his childhood, and he found community in the Weavers Guild of Kansas City. Abraham received a BFA in crafts with an emphasis in fiber and textile design from the College of Creative Studies in Detroit, Michigan. Abraham works for Brentano, Inc. They produce upholstery, drapery, and wall coverings in Wheeling, Illinois. And with the help from his parents, maintains a herd of fiber goats and sheep in Kansas. His artwork is he often explores the many qualities related to the human experience and aims to portray narratives involving the physical and spiritual being. He has had the privilege to showcase his artwork in the national and international levels. Hello, Abraham.
Hi.
Welcome. It's nice to have you on Textiles and Tea.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
All right, so we're going to start off with the big question. What is your favorite tea?
All right, well, today I'm drinking a spearmint blend, but you often find me drinking chai as well. So
I love chai.
There's so many good teas. It's hard to pick a favorite, but yeah, spearmint, chai, those are my two.
There you go. So would you share with us how you got started in fiber?
Yeah, so it all started age 8. I was given an Angora goat bottle baby from a family friend who raised sheep and goats. And you have an Angora goat, they produce mohair, and they produce a lot of it. So I was just this little kid, had this little goat kid that was my baby, and had the mohair, wanted to learn how to make stuff out of it. My oldest sister had a drop spindle kit from some conference she had went to, probably like 10 years before this. And we had dug that out, and I went to the shearer with it. First time that Harry, which was the little goat, got sheared in the fall. Bought this heavy drop spindle and asked the shearer to teach me how to spin. And he showed me how to spin. And for those of you who know how to spin, a heavy drop spindle, it's not the easiest thing to spin a very thin yarn on all the time. But he picked it up and he showed me this extremely thin thread. And that kind of gave me a little bit of a challenge. Every time I saw him again, I was like, okay, I can spin this thin. Okay, I can spin this thin. Okay, I've matched how thin you've spun it. So that kind of gave me a little bit of a challenge, a little bit of drive to keep up with all the practice of the spinning on the drop spindle. Yeah, so that's really how it started. And then one thing's led to another. That year, I asked my parents for a spinning wheel for Christmas. And, of course, you have an 8-year-old kid asking for a spinning wheel. You're not really sure whether it's going to be kind of a fad, something that outgrow or not, or if I was really going to be serious about it. But my parents have always been really good at trying to feed the interests of us kids. So they came across the Babe spinning wheels, which are the spinning wheels made out of PVC pipe and a wheelchair wheel. And they found those. They got me one for Christmas, and along with a video on how to spin. And I practiced and practiced and practiced, and right about that time, my mom was getting back into knitting, and she kind of showed me how to knit. So then I was learning how to knit, and I was spinning, and then we found a book on how to do little tapestry weavings using like a piece of cardboard. So did some of those, and then the next year for Christmas, my parents got me and my sister a rigid heddle loom. And my sister wove, I think, maybe 2 things on it. She actually was more into sewing, and she wove a little bit of yardage for a little top, and that one was really good. But then I started weaving, and yeah, she kind of fizzled with the weaving. She had other things that was more interest, but it stuck with me, and I just kept weaving, kept spinning. Everything related to fiber I wanted to do. And yeah, so with 4-H, that kind of helped me with having a little bit of community to, there wasn't other weavers, spinners, but knitters and crocheters, quilters, like that. And county fair, have my work judged and know how to improve it. Then I was introduced to a little fiber shop, Cottage Fibers, in Kansas City. And PJ there was very kind and helpful, giving me advice and guidance and just encouragement, and as well as having all the amazing fibers to purchase. But she connected me with the Weavers Guild in Kansas City, and that's where things really took off. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just one thing led to another, and if it was fiber related, I wanted to do it.
That's amazing how self-guided you were. I mean, I think weaving and spinning can be very daunting at best sometimes, and that you just took it on with a book. Found a book, yep, and away you went.
Yep.
That's amazing. Well, the piece we're going to look at now is called, you said that it's a laser cut modular design. Can you talk some, and we also have a detail of it. Can you talk a little bit about what that means, and then why you did this? It's beyond cool, but what is it?
Yeah, so I made this in college, and at college I had access to some new toys, such as a laser cutter. So I was really wanting to know the depths of what I could do with that tool. And I was in a digital fabrications class, so I had access to the laser cutter through that. And I was very interested in trying to find ways of making a cloth or a fabric with the laser cutter. So these are all individual pieces that kind of connect, kind of like Legos. In the detail, you can kind of see there's this main shape with these 8 different spokes that each have a circle at the end. And you can actually pinch that circle and pull it through another circle, and it links and interconnects. And then based on how I can lay it out and connecting to different other modules, it creates a fabric, and you can actually do shaping, you can gather it and increase, very similar to knitting. So I had that reference of loop structures, because this is another form of a loop structure. So there's traditional means of knitting and crocheting that helped guide me through this. And these pieces are all the same, except for that one in the middle of the detail with a little bit of a mesh accent. So they're reversible pieces, blue on one side, black on the other. It's just 2 pieces of polyester that was actually able to dial the laser cutter in just right to fuse the two pieces together.
So was it like a sheet of polyester or a roll?
And
Then
so
you
it
cut it?
started with just polyester lining fabric. So
Oh,
the stuff straight from Joann's, and you have to lightly adhere it to like a baseboard to be able to laser cut it.
huh. Well, many of your themes, if as we looked at some of your work, we saw it, but many of your themes are people focused, or it's about
Hmm.
people and relationships. Where did that originate for you?
Yeah, so that main theme of people and relationships really started in college as well. As I was really trying to connect like a real theme to my work instead of just creating work, to actually have a statement, an idea, something that connects everything together. And I was going through all the different things that I saw worth in, and at the end of the day, everything kept just boiling down to people. That people are the most important thing, and how can I try to talk about humans and the being and relationships and what makes up a human, with the medium of textiles, which actually shares a lot of similarities with humans in adaptability to our surroundings, and we're soft and flexible to a certain degree, and different forms of mending and all of that can go into it.
Well, your work seems to have like a parallel tracks that the subject is about people and relationships, and then that you also experiment with the material, such as that modular top that you made. And for example, these works, Body and Being, or this one work, Body and Being, because this was an interesting piece, because you talked about how the work relies on oxygen and water. And I thought how neat, because people rely on oxygen and water. So again, it was that parallel between people and the technique. So could you talk some about what was the techniques that you used in this piece, and then that whole parallel between the two?
Yeah. So yes, I did a lot of work, and I still do a lot of work with the human silhouette, because it's kind of ambiguous. It's kind of like a crossing sign or something you would see on the road, where it's more of a symbol for the human being rather than a specific human. So I worked a lot with silhouettes, and I really was working a lot, and still work with an apartment now. So it's a little bit harder to work with indigo, but summer months are coming. I have access to it. But I work a lot with indigo and with rust. So this piece has applique indigo silhouette, and then was rust dyed on top of that. And both of these processes really rely on oxygen and on water. And like you said, humans also rely on oxygen and water. I always like when I can combine the subject and the medium. I always like when they work together. And I think it is much more impactful when they do. Everything should just make sense. So yeah, rust, is iron oxide, so it's reacting with oxygen to form the rust, and it's decaying. Indigo, it's actually an oxidization process that helps to keep it clung to the fabric itself. So both the processes needs that oxygen. Yeah.
I'm assuming the red came on after the blue.
Yep. So the indigo is dyed, then it was appliqued on to the background, and then it was rusted on top of that. And I've used the rust and the indigo a few different ways. I've used it in this piece. It's more of using the indigo for more of a body, and rust a little bit more for the being or the spirit. Or I got into this theme of people, and was really breaking it into, okay, it's kind of like there's the body, there's the spirit, or like the energy, feelings, and then there's the soul, which is kind of what lasts and is there, or what makes you you. So trying to use indigo and rust to show some of those different aspects of what makes human beings human beings. Mm-hmm. And I've really drawn into the rust because it's, it is very permanent, and it's also a form of decay. Also went to school in Detroit. It's very much in the Rust Belt. And you think of rust, you often think of decay. You think of something that was, and it's either no more, or it has weathered and fallen apart. But I see it really as something that leaves a mark, and leaves a mark of the past. It's that lasting mark. And so I've used it in that sense in some of my pieces. And then I've also used the rust and indigo as kind of looking at water and dry. So I've done some drought studies of using the rust symbolizing drought, and the indigo for symbolizing water. And again, that they're tied to human beings, and also to kind of just with emotions and kind of mental health in some different ways of feeling like you're in your own personal drought, and being ways of presenting that as artwork to help to show and understand some of those feelings and emotions.
Well, you use a lot of different media in your works, such as these pieces coming up. One is called Storm, and the other is called Perception. So, first of all, would you explain what this technique was, and then explain how you chose materials and what it means for you? Because this is pretty unusual.
Yeah, so again, these are laser cut silhouettes. They're made out of polyester fabric. So they're still fabric, which is very important to me. They still interact with the environment, especially this the one on the right here, Storm. Those people that are kind of hanging down, if somebody walks past that quickly, they're kind of fluddle and they'll move. And that was important to me to still maintain the aspects of textiles. So yes, these are all people that are laser cut. They're all attached to a linear element that then I can weave into the cloth. As I'm weaving, I just inlay that out, pull the people through the warp so they don't get all smashed and squished, and then keep on weaving. Yeah, so again, looking at just different elements of the human experience, and and with connections as well.
Well, I think they're fabulous. They're very unique. Now you incorporate a lot of other kinds of materials. The next one coming up is called, I forgot the name of it. We'll get to it. It is a felted piece. And when I looked at it, I thought about how connected you are to the subjects, which happen to be these cute lambs and a dog. And I was thinking, you did it so well. It seems like you really had a connection with these animals. You knew, not just kind of looking at them, but you knew these animals. And then I went on to read that, you have a farm. So is that true for you? Do you feel a connection to these animals and it impacts on your work?
Yes. This is Harry, by the way, the little baby goat, and that started it all. And that the animals is what started everything for me. And as I was growing up and trying to think about college, that was kind of a back and forth for quite a while. Was I going to approach more of the agricultural side of things with a focus on the sheep and the goats, or was I going to focus more on the art and design side of things? Because I saw them both as very, very important to me, and they still are. Living just outside of Chicago now, it's a bit harder to have sheep and goats up here, but I am very thankful that my parents stepped up to continue to take care of the herd of goats and the flock of sheep that I had started. Yes, and this needle felting portrait, it's Jacob on the left and Ted on the right, and then the middle is it wasn't one of my dogs, but it was a family friend's dog. Actually, the person who gave me Harry, that was her dog, and we did a lot to help each other with. She was a phenomenal herding trainer for using the border collies to maintain the sheep and goats. So I took a lot of lessons from her and got to know her animals very well through that. And when you raise fiber producing animals, you get very aware of their fibers, and you know what the personality is of those fibers. Even within the same breed of sheep, you have different fleeces, and those fleeces all behave a little bit differently, and that can change even depending on the year. So I always say to have the best final result, you have to start with the best raw beginning. So for me, with quite a few of my things, that goes back to the animal.
I love it. It's like you hear parents talking about their kids take off to go to college and they're stuck with the dog or the cat. Not you, Abraham. You left them with goats and sheep. That must have been a big undertaking for them.
Yeah.
Well, just speaking of your family, the name of the family farm is Walking Sweater Farm, which I think is hilarious. It's a great name. So how do you think being on a farm like this impacted your work later on down the line? I mean, it sounds like it introduced you to wool and got you involved in wool, but what other ways do you think it impacted on you?
Yeah, it definitely made a huge impact. When I got my first goat, my family, we were living just outside of Leavenworth in Kansas. So still just outside the city, 2 acres. People called us Noah's Ark because we had chickens and rabbits and dogs. We had just 1 or 2 of everything. And then later on, up 2010, we moved out further into the country onto 40 acres.
Wow.
And with that, then instead of having a goat or two and a sheep or two in the backyard, and dog stakes and and cables, we're able to have pastures, and I got a lot more sheep and goats after that, and got to experience all the great joys of lambing and kidding and all the sleepless nights that go with that. But being on the farm, raising animals, it really, I think it really shows you how much everything is connected, how much the weather affects everything, how much, everything is connected. If you don't take care of one thing in the spring, then you're gonna have issues in the fall, and just everything connects. And that's, I think that's true for everything in this world. There's so many connections between everything, and it's you being on the farm. It's you know that you have to be aware of different things that can happen, and the different events throughout the year that does happen, and you have to be maintaining things and maybe stepping up if the weather's been bad. You might have to change things up a little bit, and things don't always go to plan. So learning that lesson as well. But yeah, it's just how everything is connected, and you gotta take care with everything.
Well, you have other interests too, and two of those are Boro and Shashika. Now, this is a dress and some details of it. This is called Growth and Decay. It's a great example of reusing, kind of remaking something. So it's kind of the hot topic now. A lot of people are getting on the bandwagon of reuse, remake, don't throw away, don't put it in the landfill. But when did that impact on you? Was this something that you learned when you were in college? Because I'm sure it was very strong there. Or was this something you got from being on the farm, or was this something that you ran to once you got out of school?
Yeah, I think this idea of, let's say, maybe slow, because there's the concept of fast fashion, where you buy something, it's cheap, you throw it away, you don't take care of it, it doesn't last. And then there's the idea of actually slow, putting time and effort and care into something, and maintaining it. And I think I've always kind of had that throughout my whole life. I think growing up on the farm, that's part of it. You use what you have and the resources that you have, and you try to find the best ways to use those, and to care for those things, and to care for animals. You don't just use a sheep and then discard it. That's a living life. So I think that was part of it. I think also, I'm the youngest of four, so I was used to hand-me-downs and also just scraps. Enjoying making things out of scraps. When my sister's brother would be working on a project and making something, or there was maybe sewing or woodworking or whatever it was, and there was scraps, and it's like, this little kid, me, it's like, can I take this? Okay, I'm taking this. Okay, I'm making things too, and just using the resources that were at hand.
Can you talk a little bit about can you talk a little bit about, for people who don't know, what Boro and Shashika is?
Yeah, so Boro and Shashiko are traditional Japanese techniques, and they were really different ways of mending Bolo is more of like a quilting, a bit more. Shashiko is more this specific stitching method. You're using long stitches that then kind of interconnect almost in a warp and weft direction to create different patterns and designs. Yeah, so they were used kind of as a way to reuse and to mend and to patch, and oftentimes it uplifted the original thing. You invested into it and you made it something that was even more special and unique and prized than the original cloth that you used to begin with, that was used and had holes in it. Yeah, so this piece I wanted to kind of focus on that, and how can you, I wanted to show both the decay, so both the fraying and the staining of the indigo and all of that, but then to also show the beauty of the mending and the patchwork. There's another Japanese technique that's actually ceramics, and I forget the name of it, but they actually take a broken piece of ceramics and they inlay the cracks with gold, and it becomes so much more priceless and precious, and the focus becomes on the actual places that have been broken and mended. And yeah, I think is really like the idea of mending, because it really is taking time, investing into something, joining together. Often you're joining multiple layers of cloth with a patch, and you're strengthening that weakened place. And I really like how it, I like to connect things. So I really like connecting that with the human experience, and how can we be mending things as well. And it's easy to talk about mending cloth, mending clothes, keeping something physical alive, and instead of just throwing it out and buying something new. But shouldn't we be doing that in our human relationships and in our world and in our community as well? And so I think that's just a good picture of if we do this here, we should also be doing this in our own human relationships as well.
Well, I love that the way you said that, is that you take something and you elevate it by adding to it rather than throwing it away. And I like that perception of it. That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. You bring two things that are weak, and you bring two things together, join them together, and you make it far stronger and better than the two individuals.
Well, you were an intern at Convergence a few years back, which we loved, and you kind of set the bar for interns in the future because you did a wonderful job for us. You did great. But then when I look at your resume, you did a lot of different kinds of things, different internships and going places and taking classes with different places. So how do you think, and you want to talk about this picture too, I'm assuming, how do you think that internship changed your direction or your work?
Yeah, internships are very helpful for me, just to have different experiences and to gain knowledge and connections with different people throughout the process. As you said, I am very grateful to have been able to be an intern for Convergence in Milwaukee, and then also again in Reno. And thank you to any Fiber Trust members who are watching this for helping to make that possible. But yeah, just for Convergence, it's being in that community full with so many people that have weaving and spinning and dyeing and design on their minds, and sharing that and getting to connect with these people and with the authors that I've read their books and all of that. So it was a very good experience. This photo is at Peters Valley, which is a craft school. They hold workshops throughout the summer in a national forest in New Jersey. It's beautiful there, and they do all different things: blacksmithing, ceramics, fiber arts, and all the different arts and crafts. And I was able to spend a few weeks there, being a studio assistant, and I helped set up for workshops and clean in between and guide people around and all of that. But that was just a really great opportunity. It was able to really keep me focused just on arts and crafts and build some really good relationships and have great conversations with craftsmen, with people that are pursuing their specific craft, whether that's textiles or another medium, for their lives, their livelihood. And there's the ones that were just out of college. There were the ones out of masters. There's ones that have been doing it for 50 years. So it's just a great experience there. And I had an internship with DeLeo Textiles in North Carolina, which was very helpful, learning more of the industry side of things. Mm-hmm. And then after college, I did an internship where I was working with HGA Fiber Mill in El Dorado, Kansas. And that was very helpful, understanding, it's a spinning mill. So they'd wash and card, dehair, depending on the fiber, and then spin, pry, all those things. And that was very helpful for me to see how the machines do it. I know how my hands do it, but it was very helpful to see how the machines do it. And that's very helpful with my animals and being able to then know what best fibers would be suited for that.
Now, in that picture, was that the same loom that you got as a kid? It's got made out PVC pipe. That's what I'm wondering.
The spinning wheel, yeah. That was.
Oh, did I say loom? Spinning wheel. Yeah.
Yeah, that was still the first spinning wheel.
That's amazing that you kept it that long. That's good.
Yeah, I still have it. I still use it.
All right. You also did an internship at, is it Brentano? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, so Brentano, and that's where I work. So I was hired in fall 2018, and then now a designer there for them. Mm-hmm. And I enjoy it so much. There's I do a little bit of all. It's kind of a small design studio. There's one other designer, me, and then the head of design. So there's pretty much the three of us, and then we have a couple other people in the studio that take care a little bit more of the testing and kind of a project manager position. So I've learned a lot through it. I do a lot of different things, a lot of color work, a lot of pattern work, and then getting into more of the actual weave drafting for jacquard mostly.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you did an internship there, and then it became a job, right?
No, it was this job.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I can't imagine how nice it is to be able to go into a job interview and say, well, I did this and I did this and I did this and I did this, rather than just saying, I went to school. So I was so impressed how you went out there and found more experiences for yourself. I think that was one of the things we talked about in Career in Textiles too, because you've talked some about that, of getting out there and doing that.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah.
College only teaches you so much, and in the real world experience is a very different thing, and it's a very good thing to actually have.
Well, what's next for you now?
Yeah, so Convergence is coming up soon. I'll
Yay.
be teaching 2 seminars there, tips, tricks, and how-tos of West dyeing, and then also wrapping up loose ends, which is kind of a professional development little seminar. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to hopefully seeing you, of course, Kathy, and then hopefully seeing some of the other participants on here. And really looking forward to that. We at Brentano are working on a lot of really great textiles coming up. We're launching a really nice collection August 1st. So that one's long been taken care of on my side of things.
Oh, good.
So now we're working on the future collections and multiple years out. So we got some really great stuff coming up.
Well, a big thank you to Brentano, because you took time out of your busy day to meet with us earlier and then again today. So thank you, Brentano. I encourage everybody to go look them up on the website. We appreciate them giving us your time there briefly. So we have a bunch of questions. How about we get to those?
All right.
All right. We have Ruth McGregor. In the water and air pieces with the rust and the indigo, what fabric did you use as a support? It appears to be translucent.
So that one with the body and being, that was just a cotton broadcloth, and then cotton for the indigo piece as well. The rust is the rust dyeing process creates a lot of different opacities. You can go from a very opaque, thick rust, or you can have the places, for that one, when it was dyeing, it was actually upside down, so that the rust was actually kind of falling down, which then right side up looks like there's like this energy being raised up.
Catherine Delisle says, I really enjoyed your creativity in stretching the concepts of fabric, bringing in technology without losing the sense of fabric. I thought that's excellent. I think that's true. No question, just a thank you for sharing your thinking process. So you got a shout out there. Lisa Schweitzer, thanks for coming. Can you talk a little bit about your creative process of moving from concept to finished fiber art? Do you start with a sketchbook? Do you mostly create as you go on the loom? Good question.
Yeah, I am very eclectic at all the different mediums that I do and the types of projects that I make. So it very much depends on what it is I'm doing. I am a weaver, so I often try to plan things quite a bit. It's one of the reasons I actually got into the West and indigo dyeing is because that they can kind of have a mind of their own a lot of times. So that helped me to kind of break out of my precision that I was stuck always trying to have that precision and not being able to just freely flow in a creative process. So there's different things. Weaving, I always start usually on a paper, pen and pencil, then go onto a computer and design some more other things. It usually starts at a sketch pad for anything with any type of an image. Other times for the less than indigo, sometimes that's just starting the process and seeing where it goes and making sure you have enough fabric and materials to have get into a flow and keep that flow going.
Well, Susan wants to know, how many breeds of sheep do you have? I know you went through them, but what were they again and how many?
Yeah, so we have little bit of a mix mostly going on right now. But it really started with Shetland, and then blue-faced Wester, Cheviot crosses. Then I have a Lamboy thrown in there too. But most of the herd is Shetland blue-faced Wester crosses. I find it, I like that wool. It's still very soft. It's still very, you can still spin it very fine, but it doesn't till too much like some of the very fine wools.
Michaela McIntosh. Hi, Michaela. You're in touch with real life as well as the artist life, which brings a lot of unique depth to your work. So interesting to see your work and hear your comments. Thank you for coming. So it wasn't really a question, not a shout out. You got a little fan club going here. Harriet Ringgold. Hi, Harriet. I love the name of the farm. I do too. I think it's hilarious. Did the family keep the name Walking Sweaters? So it's still called that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So, yep. Yeah, they're keeping it. So it's perfect.
Walking sweater. I love that. I will never look at a sheep again and call it a sheep. I'll just call it a walking sweater. Paula Williams, did you use your animal fibers to create the needle felted picture of the sheep and the border collie? Do you use your sheep and goat fibers elsewhere in your art?
Yes. So yes, that felting, not 100% of those fibers were from the animals. Just getting the different colors. I use other people's fibers and do some dyeing as well. But the base for that and a good portion of the fiber is from my sheep and goats. Yeah, I still like to weave and spin and knit and all these other things that I do for like Christmas presents and stuff like that. And that's almost always with my animals fibers. I've made some vests and jackets. I actually made a jacket out of wool from just one of my sheep. It was a natural colored Shetland BFL cross. And he faded each year for the first couple of years. So I had a very dark gray brown, and then I had a more medium gray, and then a very light silver. So then I was able to, all using just his wool, I was able to create different varieties of colors to create a contrasting weave.
Donna C, that's a good question. How do you balance your work weaving and your personal weaving? Are you sick of weaving when you get home at the end of the day?
It is hard. At work, everything, we're not doing any hand weaving. Everything is, we're kind of, some people might call us kind of like an editor, as in we work with different mills and then we make edits. That is true to a certain degree, but then we are also designers. So we're also designing our own patterns. We're working with mills to create our own weave structures. So yeah, the last couple, for me, I've been working right now on a lot of double beam constructions. So you have more of a face yarn and then more of a binder yarn to hold everything really tight. And so I've been staring at the computer, coming up with different structures and how to mix the different structures to create the pattern that we want. So yeah, it can be hard to going from that and then going home and trying to also then be creative at home too. It is nice because at work you're kind of designing for a purpose. You're designing for what you believe people will want for the most part. So you're limited to the kind of the trends that are happening and the trends that you are predicting in the future. You're at home doing your own thing. You're a little bit more free to do what you want. So I do like that, but it can be hard sometimes being so focused on color and design and then trying to come home and focus on color, design. But that's where just weaving or spinning comes in really nice. Is you can just, for me, spinning, most of the time, you don't have to think about it. So you can just sit down and spin and just enjoy the process.
Mary Holm wants to know, what kind of textiles does Brentano make?
Yeah, so we do mostly upholstery fabric and then some drapery. We also just started doing wall covering. Our market is mostly contract and high-end residential. So we have a lot of stuff in restaurants, a lot of stuff in hotels, cruise ships, and then high-end residential. So we have it all. Definitely look us up online or at Brentano Fabrics on Instagram. We have a lot of nice fabrics. Everything from natural to synthetics and everything in between.
This is Michaela again. How did you do the applique of the indigo? Was it sewn or adhesive? I'm not sure what she's talking about. Do you?
Yes, so that was for the body and being piece again. That was in that specific piece, that was just adhesive. I have done different ones with sewing it on as well.
Oh, okay.
And I've done some tapestries with rust dyed yarn and indigo dyed yarn as well. And that's been more what I've been kind of exploring more recently. And then doing more kind of rust paintings, portrait type paintings to sign cloth, and then doing another study of these kind of more tapestries and using Rhea knots to have some dimension to them.
You do a lot. Well, I can't believe it, but it is time to stop for today. Thank you so much for being on here.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy, for organizing all this, and thank you, HGA, for all that you do in promoting and uplifting the textiles. And thank you, Suzanne, for sponsoring this Textiles Tea.
Thank you, Suzanne. Yeah, it's funny how, because I've known you for a number of years, but in some ways I don't know anything about you. I've not been able, I see you at Convergence working, and I never saw your work. And so this has been wonderful. Thank you so much. It's nice to be able to see, turn the page and see who else, what else is going on there. Thank you so much. We'll see Abraham this summer at Convergence. He'll be teaching. If you're interested in signing up for your class, you can still sign up for classes, and you'll see him there. Thank you so much. We do want to say thank you to Sue-Ann Pasquarella. Hey, Sue-Ann, thank you so much for doing this today, and especially since it was Abraham. We appreciate that. If you want to learn more about Abraham, you can go to his website, which is abrahambuddish.com. And he's also Abraham Buddish on Instagram. So if you want to see more of his work, you can do that. It's very varied. He's all over the place with this work. It's amazing. So check that out. If you would like to be a sponsor, or you want to your business wants to be a sponsor, or your guild wants to be a sponsor, please go to our website, weavespindye.org, and you too can sponsor an episode of Textiles and Tea. If you've missed any of the episodes and you would like to watch them again, like you want to watch it with someone, or you didn't catch the whole thing, or you were busy, that's fine. You can watch them on Facebook Live, and they're also being uploaded to the YouTube channel. And I would encourage you to subscribe to the HGA YouTube channel, because if you do, every time one is uploaded, you'll get a notification that a new one has been added. We have some big events coming up this fall. Spinning and Weaving Week, which will be October the 3rd through the 9th, 2022. We're going to have the usual things of thread talks, the Marketplace Live, the fashion show, the studio tours. But something new this year is Art Sparks, and we will be doing kind of some small mini classes online, and we'll have teachers coming in to teach it. You'll either go get the materials on your own, or you can get a kit. It's really open, and we're looking at all kinds of things. We're excited about this. This is great. If you would like to be part of Textiles and Tea by either being a speaker on Thread Talks is like TED Talks. It's a chance to come on the stage for 15 minutes and talk about an idea or a concept or something you feel strongly about. You can find out more about that on the website. If you want to teach one of the Art Sparks, again, please sign up at the website. We have Marketplace Live. We're looking for vendors who want to participate in that. And you can be a sponsor, just like you could be a sponsor for Textiles and Tea. You can be a sponsor for Spinning and Weaving Week. We have all sizes of sponsorships available. If you want to know more, go to weavespindie.org. I want to thank y'all for being here this week. I appreciate it. Next week, we're going to have David Hustis. He's going to be our guest. I hope you have a wonderful week and happy tea.